Okay, so get this right. This story, it sounds like something out of like a comedy sketch or something. But get this, it's real. And get this, it actually inspired some pretty groundbreaking research in psychology. So we're going a deep dive today into the Dunning-Kruger effect. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a fascinating cognitive bias. I mean, it really shows you how our minds can sometimes be our own worst enemies.
So explain this a little bit. Dunning-Kruger, for those of us who haven't spent, years studying it, what is it?
Basically, it describes how people who, let's say, aren't very good at something, they tend to way overestimate their abilities.
Mhm.
And then that leads to some, you know, pretty bad decisions.
Like really bad decision.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And they're often totally clueless about, like, how bad they actually are.
So this is why we all have that friend who thinks they're an amazing singer when in reality
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly.
So is there like a perfect example of this?
You know, there is. The case of McArthur Wheeler, the lemon juice bank robber. Yeah, the lemon juice bank robber from Pittsburgh back in 1995. This guy decided to rob two banks in broad daylight with lemon juice.
He robbed a bank with lemon juice. What do you mean?
I mean, he smeared lemon juice on his face.
Yeah.
He thought it would make him invisible to security cameras.
Invisible. He thought lemon juice would make him invisible.
He really did.
Okay, I'm already hooked, I'm not gonna lie. So, how did he come up with this brilliant plan?
Well, you see, he did his own experiment, you could call it. He took a Polaroid of himself after the lemon juice treatment, and guess what?
What?
No face in the picture.
Oh, come on.
I know, right?
You're telling me he really thought...
He thought he was onto something big.
Oh, man. Okay.
Probably like bad film or something. Maybe the angle was weird or he pointed the camera away from his face. Who knows? Proof. Hard proof of his lemon juice invisibility shield.
So, let me guess. Armed with his citrusy confidence, he hits the bank.
Yep, Mellon Bank, with his buddy Clifton Earl Johnson. They got away with over $5 grand.
$5,000.
$5,200 to be exact.
And feeling good, I guess?
Oh, yeah. Emboldened. Ready for round two.
So they hit another bank?
They did. Fidelity Savings Bank.
Then all this, with just the lemon juice, no masks, nothing.
Just lemon juice. And an incredible amount of misplaced faith in citrus.
The audacity, right, like I kind of got to admire the sheer...
Oh, it's a classic Dunning-Kruger case, you see, when you don't know how much you don't know. It's amazing, really.
So how'd they get caught? If they got caught, they were invisible, right?
Well, Johnson, they caught him pretty quick. But Wheeler, he was still out there.
On the lam with his lemon juice shield.
Right. So they put his picture, lemon juice and all, on Crime Stoppers.
Yeah.
And here's the kicker.
He saw himself on TV.
Wheeler was watching.
No way. What'd he do?
He was floored, absolutely dumbfounded. But I wore the lemon juice. It should have worked.
Wait, he was serious.
Dead serious. That's Dunning-Kruger in action. You just can't see your own incompetence, even when it's staring you right in the face, right there on TV.
Wow. Okay, so this is where it gets interesting. I know the story, made the rounds. But how does this lemon juice bank robbery turn into a scientific thing?
That's where David Dunning and Justin Kruger come in, researchers at Cornell.
Okay, I've heard those names. So how do they get involved in all this?
Dunning, he was a social psychologist. He read about this case, and he was hooked. Wheeler's complete lack of self-awareness, it fascinated him. So he got together with Kruger, his grad student, and they decided to, really study this phenomenon.
So the lemon juice, it was like the spark.
Pretty much. They wanted to, get to the bottom of it all, scientifically.
And the Dunning-Kruger effect was born.
You got it.
Yeah.
From a ridiculous crime to a major psychological theory.
And this isn't just about, proving that lemon juice doesn't make you invisible, right?
Right. It's about understanding how our minds work, how we perceive ourselves, something we all do,
Yeah.
It's human nature.
We've all been there, thinking we're experts when, well, maybe we're not.
It's true, Dunning-Kruger, it's not just for, lemon juice bank robbers.
Mm-mm.
We all fall for it in some way, at some point.
Right. It can happen to anyone. So what did Dunning and Kruger, what did they actually find out, in their research?
Okay, so they did all these studies, right? Testing people on different stuff like grammar, logic, even humor. Then they asked them, how well do you think you did?
Okay, so like a self-evaluation after the test.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And guess what? The people who scored the lowest, the bottom of the barrel,
They thought they did great.
they thought they were amazing, way above average. consistently.
No way. So the people who knew the least were the most confident.
Yep. And it's not just that they, like, didn't have the skills. It's deeper than that.
What do you mean?
They couldn't even tell how bad they were. Like, they lacked the awareness, the metacognition to judge themselves.
Okay, so they were bad at the task, and they were bad at knowing they were bad.
Bingo. It's double whammy.
But why? Why do we do that? Like, why are we so, I don't know, so quick to overestimate ourselves, especially when we don't know what we're doing?
Good question. Dunning and Kruger, they had some ideas.
Okay, I'm listening.
So first, they said, if you don't know much about something, you kind of lack the mental tools, the framework, to even judge yourself accurately.
It's like if you've only ever eaten, like, frozen dinners, you wouldn't know what a good steak tastes like, right?
Perfect analogy. You don't have the experience, the taste to compare. Same with, like, skills or knowledge.
Makes sense. So we're missing the measuring stick.
Right. And the second thing, they said, it's not just that we can't judge ourselves, it's that we can't even see the skills in other people.
Because we don't recognize them.
Exactly. We're blind to our own shortcomings and blind to other people's expertise.
So we're stuck in this bubble.
Kind of, yeah, this bubble of, like, ignorance. We think we're great because we don't even know how much we don't know.
Man, this is kind of depressing. So we're all doomed to just, like, wander around making dumb decisions and not even knowing it.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
I mean, Dunning-Kruger, it's a real thing, but it's not like a life sentence. Here's the good news.
Okay, tell me there's good news.
The more you learn about something, the more accurate your self-assessment becomes.
So there's hope, but how do we get out of this cycle? Like, how do we go from I'm awesome to maybe I don't know as much as I thought?
Well, first, you got to know about it. Just being aware of Dunning-Kruger, that's a big step.
Mhm.
Makes you more careful, more open to the possibility that, hey, maybe I'm wrong.
Okay, so awareness is key.
Definitely. But that's not enough. Awareness doesn't magically make you an expert. You need to actively seek out feedback.
Feedback, like from other people.
Exactly. Talk to people who know more than you, people who are experienced in that area.
But that's tough, right? Like admitting you need help.
I know, it's not easy. And feedback, it's not always fun to hear, but it's crucial.
Because it shows us our blind spots.
It's like seeing yourself through someone else's eyes. You start to see where you can improve.
So it's not a one-time thing.
Nope. It's a process, an ongoing thing. Overcoming Dunning-Kruger, it's a journey, not a destination. You got to be committed to learning, to growing, to being humble enough to admit you don't know everything.
And being okay with not being right all the time.
Exactly. That's huge. Like embracing a growth mindset, seeing mistakes as like opportunities to learn, not failures.
So instead of getting defensive when someone criticizes us, we should be like, okay, cool, how can I learn from this?
Exactly. Remember, everyone makes mistakes, even like geniuses. It's what you do with those mistakes that matters.
This is making me think, what about Dunning-Kruger on a bigger scale? Like not just individuals, but like groups or like society as a whole?
Yeah, that's a really interesting thought. Like what happens when you've got a whole group of people and they all think they're like experts?
Oh man, like a team where everyone's overconfident. I feel like that wouldn't end well.
It often doesn't. I mean, think about it. Communication breaks down. Collaboration goes out the window. And decision-making. Forget about it.
Yeah, everyone's so sure they're right, they can't even listen to each other.
Exactly. And you get this, like, false consensus. Everyone thinks they're on the same page, but they're not even reading the same book.
And in fields where, like, the stakes are high, like politics or healthcare, that could be scary.
Oh, yeah, that's when it gets really dangerous. Like, in politics, you got leaders who are, like, overconfident. They might underestimate how complex things really are. They might ignore the experts.
Or they might just, like, not see the consequences of their actions.
Exactly. And that can have huge repercussions, for everyone.
And in healthcare, like, I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah, it can be life or death, literally. A doctor who's overconfident, they might miss a diagnosis or, give the wrong treatment.
So what do we do? Like, how do we fight this Dunning-Kruger thing on a societal level? It feels so big.
It is big. But, I mean, there are things we can do. Like, we got to foster a culture of, like, intellectual humility, where it's okay to say, I don't know, or that's seen as a good thing.
Yeah, like admitting you don't have all the answers, that should be a strength, not a weakness.
Right. And we need to encourage critical thinking. you know, being open to different ideas, being willing to learn from mistakes.
That's like back to education, right? Teaching people not just what to think, but how to think.
Exactly. Given the tools to like navigate all this information, all this, misinformation, all this overconfidence.
So where do we start? Like, what can we do as individuals to, protect ourselves from this Dunning-Kruger effect? And, maybe help others too.
Well, we talked about some of it already. Be humble, seek out different perspectives, be open to feedback. But I think the biggest thing is to keep learning. Lifelong learning.
But isn't it like the more you learn, the more you realize how much you don't know?
Exactly. It's kind of paradoxical, right?
Yeah.
But that's the key. Realizing that you don't know everything. That's what keeps you grounded. That's what keeps you open to new ideas. That's what keeps you growing.
It's like the opposite of Dunning-Kruger. Instead of thinking you're an expert, you realize there's always more to learn.
Right. And that curiosity, that humility, that's what helps you avoid those big mistakes. Like, robbing a bank with lemon juice.
Well, on that note, I think we've pretty much squeezed all the juice out of this deep dive, wouldn't you say?
I think so.
So just to wrap things up, we talked about a lot today. A funny bank robbery, the Dunning-Kruger effect, how it affects us all. But I think the main takeaway, the thing to remember, is that we all have blind spots. We all think we're better at some things than we actually are.
It's human nature, right? But if we recognize that, if we're open to feedback, if we keep learning, we can avoid those pitfalls. We can make better decisions.
So next time you're feeling super confident about something, take a second. Ask yourself, am I missing something? What don't I know? It might just save you from a lemon juice mishap.
Or even better, it might lead you to learn something new.
And that's what it's all about. Thanks for listening, everybody. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and don't be afraid to admit when you don't know something.
A little humility goes a long way.